Welcome, Mayor Jen Ahearn-Koch. We were just about to sign off. You just skimmed in.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I'm sorry I was late, but
We know you had to talk to CNN instead of us. Never mind. Mayor, would you bring us up to date regarding the new mask ordinance?
Sure. I'm sure you all have read the paper and that that we had a meeting on Monday, that the attorney recommended that we do this by ordinance as opposed to by order. The ordinance required a supermajority, 4 out of the 5 commissioners, which we had. And the ordinance it's a temporary and an emergency ordinance. It expires in 60 days unless it's extended. It can be changed, and we intend on it. We needed a place to start, from which to start. So we used the Tampa ordinance. We added to it. We changed it a little bit. We adapted it, and we were already learning things suggestions and ideas to make it better. And we will probably be talking about that on Monday, July 6th. We have a number of exceptions, although it does require mandatory masks indoors and outdoors. One of the big exceptions is when you can at least 6 feet socially and physically distance, or I'll just say physical distance. That is one exception, and there are many, many others. Notably, of course, if you're eating and drinking, you're not going to wear a mask. If you have any kind of underlying health issues where you can't, you don't have to, and you also don't have to reveal what that is and have some kind of papers proving what that illness is. So we're trying to make it as useful as possible without it being a burden on people. We want this to be a positive thing. We want the community to know that this is for our health, safety, and our welfare that we're doing this, that it was asked for by the business community and by the citizens, and it was an overwhelming majority. A small percentage of people don't necessarily want this, but for other reasons, but the vast majority of people have asked for this, along with businesses. I did a tremendous amount of research and, of course, spoke to medical doctors and other health experts who all highly recommended this. And I think during the meeting, one of the things that I mentioned, and I keep mentioning over and over again, is that, we're very lucky as a community to have Sarasota Memorial Hospital right here in our city. And, it's world renowned. I don't know how many people know this, but we have these meetings called COG, which is a Council of Government meetings, and they're once a month. And it's Venice, it's Northport, it's the city of Sarasota, it's the county, it's the hospital board, and a whole bunch. And we all get together once a month, and we do this sort of take two, where we sort of update each other on what's new going on in our areas. And a year ago or so, I attended the COG with Mr. Barwin, and they announced that Sarasota Memorial Hospital was listed as one of the best hospitals in the world. So, the joke was the next is the galaxy. But we are so lucky to have, this facility in our city. And when the head epidemiologist sends you an email that says, I am worried at the rise in hospitalizations occurring over the past few weeks, and the capability of exponential growth. And then he said, if this growth rate continues unmitigated, it can overwhelm even the best prepared healthcare systems. I implore and appeal to your sense of solidarity, altruism, and selflessness to pass a face mask mandate now to help control the advance of this epidemic. I took that very seriously. And it was not only Dr. Gordillo, who's the head epidemiologist at Sarasota Memorial Hospital. I spoke with Dr. Washington Hill, and I've spoken with a number of experts. So, between the medical community, the constituents, and the businesses, it seemed like the step that we had to take, even though, it had to be done on an emergency basis and call a special meeting. I was happy that it required a supermajority, because this is not a step we wanted to take lightly. And I think it would have passed unanimously. I think Commissioner Brody's one concern was the enforcement of it in the outdoor capacity. But other than that, I think it would have passed unanimously. So that gives us a tremendous amount of comfort that we took the right step. I
Mayor,
will go on forever unless you stop me. So.
okay, Mayor, I have a question. You started out by saying masks to be worn outdoors and inside. Obviously, you're not talking about inside people's homes.
Of course not.
So
Not
when you
inside your
say
house.
inside, what are you talking about?
Public places, businesses, in common areas, for example, in your condominiums. So where you have your common entryway, your common hallways, your common pool areas, your common bathrooms, those you need to be wearing your mask, because those are places where a number of people are going to be passing each other. And if in places of business and outdoors, when you go to a restaurant, if you're inside, obviously when you eat and you sit down at your table, we're assuming that businesses are going to be having their tables with the humans at least 6 feet apart. So when you're at your table, you may take it off, eat, drink, do what you need to do. If you need to get up and go to the restroom, put your mask on. If you need to run out to the car, put your mask on. A lot of it is common sense, and it's absolutely not meant to be draconian, but we do have an enforcement element to this. The big portion of it in the very beginning is going to be warnings, passing out masks, educating people, trying to get people to understand that we are doing this in the best interest of everyone's health, safety, and welfare.
Mayor, before I get to Ken, just 1 second, let me just follow up with this. When you talk about in the common areas of a condo building, isn't there an exception if you are not able to physically distance? Is that correct?
Yes.
So,
yes, and that's anywhere.
Okay.
That's pretty much indoors and outdoors.
Okay.
If you can't physically distance, you should wear the mask. So whether you're on the street, whether you're in a business, whether you're in a restaurant, you know, if I had my druthers, I would recommend to everyone, just wear it. Wear it when you're out in public. When you're in your house, when you're in your own home, you don't need to. Or if you're in a hotel room where you've, taken that hotel room or your vacation rental, that's fine. I would recommend you wear it when you're out at the grocery store. Another exception, a big exception, is exercising. You don't need to be wearing it when you're exercising outside. So if you walk or you run, that's a much more difficult situation to be wearing a mask. It's not really very practical. So that's an exception as well. Children are an exception. Tampa had it ages 2 and under. The attorney recommended at the time 18 or under 18. We've had some people email us since and say that's way too old. It should be maybe 10 and under or something like that. So we're going to be looking at some of these adjustments to it on the 6th of July. And there are some other ideas that people have sent to us. And that includes shields, face shields. That's a new element. So we'll talk about that as a commission on Monday.
Ken, you had a question. Unmute yourself, Ken. Ken, you're muted.
Sorry. Before you came to the meeting, I asked a question about this requirement to wear masks in the common areas of condominium multifamily buildings. That's a problem we have here. We have several medical people who live in this building. We have an ER physician from Sarasota Memorial. We have a surgeon from Sarasota Memorial. We have a nurse, and they won't wear masks in common areas of the building. What enforcement mechanism do you propose to use for people like that who think they know better because they're medical professionals and refuse to wear a mask in a common area of a condominium?
Well, honestly, I find that shocking that a medical professional would not wear a mask in a common area.
I do too.
Ken, what's their explanation?
They don't need it.
How do they defend that?
They don't need it. They know that there's no transmission possible.
I honestly, I find that shocking. Can they keep their social distance in those common areas?
Sometimes, of course, but maybe other times not.
Well, if they can't, then they're breaking the rules.
How do you enforce a requirement like that in a situation like that?
Well, you can call the code enforcement. Obviously, again, we say that code. We're going to start with code enforcement, and then it's going to be a combination of code enforcement and SPD after that. And we'll be issuing citations starting at $50 and going up to $500.
They can't do their own job. How are they going to do this job?
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Actually, Peter?
Ken, that's difficult to believe, but at any rate, I think the first step is the board of directors of that condominium association has to set a firm policy. And I think the first enforcement is the board's enforcement. And there are mechanisms allowed under the law for you to enforce your policies in the condominiums. I don't think you're going to want to call 911. I don't think you're going to want to call code enforcement. I think you're going to want to use your internal abilities to bring about compliance with a board policy.
That's all well and good for you, but not in this building.
Well,
That's a problem. I understand it's a problem for us.
Yeah.
But that's all well and good, but it's a problem.
Well,
Which building are you in? Or do you not want to say?
The Embassy House, across from Selby Gardens.
Okay.
One of the things I've found is that, I don't like wearing the mask, but I do. So if I have it on, but I pull it down, and then if I see someone approaching, I pull it up. So if people just would hang it on their ears when they go out, it would always be available for use if you're not socially distanced.
A problem with that is that you should not be touching the outside of it with your hands. You should really be putting on your mask around your ears and grab those strings and only putting it on and off and adjusting it at the top of it. But once it's on, you should not be touching the front of it. If you do, you need to sanitize your hands immediately.
Well, that's a good point. Does anyone else have another question for the mayor? Clark, did you raise your hand?
So if I'm walking down the street to my office, am I supposed to be masked whether there's anyone on the sidewalk or not?
If there's nobody there and you're not going to cross paths and you don't think it's going to be a big deal, then no. But for example, when I would, if I was at City Hall and I went to Whole Foods, for example, to go get something, I would put on a mask because the chances are pretty good that I will come face to face or cross paths with somebody, and probably not at 6 feet distance from each other. So I would put one on, because the sidewalks, between City Hall and Whole Foods are, 5 feet. So likely I would be breaking the rules. So I would wear one. When I exercise in my neighborhood, we have 20-foot streets, no sidewalks. I don't wear one. I don't cross paths with a single human when I'm out in my neighborhood walking around. So there I don't wear one. So common sense and, your own druthers. But, again, in the very beginning, we're going to be, warning and educating, and we're all going to be getting used to this.
Well, one problem when you walk outside and you're wearing sunglasses is that you immediately fog up. I can't, I either give up the mask or give up the sunglasses.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a trick when you do that. You take a tissue, and here with a napkin here, you stick it, a nice thin tissue. If you stick it on the inside right here, and you have your glasses will not fog, like a nice thin tissue. And if you just coat the inside of your mask, it really helps. I mean, it works 100%, I can tell you. Because I've had to sign papers and have meetings with the tissue there, and it works 100%.
I know you can also tape the mask to your face, so your breath doesn't escape up into your glasses.
I haven't heard that. Sounds a little extreme.
I'm not sure that sounds so good. And I guess you just better stay off Fruitville Road, because if you're passing anyone on the sidewalk, you're actually going to be speaking.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who has a question for the mayor? Yes, Elka. You have to unmute yourself, Elka. Can you
hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is basically for you, Eileen. Do we have time to bring up the Bayfront noise disturbing the peace today, or is that not?
I think that has come in front of the commission. Mayor, am I correct that you've heard about the noise in front of the condos with motorcycles? Is that what you're talking about, Elka?
Yes, there have been many complaints about the noise from modified motorcycles and muscle cars gunning their engines along Bayfront Drive and over the Ringling Common. causeway at all hours of the day and night, disturbing the peace. And just wondering what you think about trying to Riples with the assistance of elected officials.
Mayor, do you want to comment on that?
Sure. Yeah, we've been receiving an awful lot of emails. It has not come before the commission as a topic on our agenda, but individually, I have been at least made aware of this for a while now. The police are well aware of it. I think we've issued double the amount of tickets we've ever issued in 4 months. I think even double what we would issue in a whole year. And it's a problem. Speeding's a problem. The noise is a problem, and we know it. And the SPD is trying to just do the best they can. The only thing I would say is continue to make us aware of it, continue to report it, so that we are aware that it is not dying down, and that, you know, it's not only is it loud, but it's also dangerous, and it's a problem. So we need to continually be made aware of it. But like I said, the police, they are trying to address this as best as they can.
All right.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Thank you.
Well,
for the
I
mayor?
see that Alex Turner from Associa Gulf Coast just joined us back.
Yes. Okay, but we're going to hold off till we're done with the mayor unless he has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was done.
Are there any other questions for the mayor before we let her go for the night? She's pretty busy. Peter.
Can I just, I'd like to give an accolade to the mayor and the way she handled the meeting on Monday. It was a long meeting. Some of it was vituperous, some of it was excited, some of it was, and she did just a great job handling it and bringing it forth to a conclusion. I really think that she showed some leadership in getting this ordinance passed through that so many of us wanted. And there was a vocal minority that she respected, and they had their say. And I think this is the way government at the city level is supposed to work.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I really appreciate that.
Well said, Peter. Anybody else? Clark. Clark, are you?
Yeah,
waiting
I just
yet?
wanted to find out what's going to be the criteria for lifting the mask regulation, or do you foresee that it's just going to keep going for at least 2 months and maybe longer?
My crystal ball, as my mother would say, is a little bit foggy right now. I would not have been able to predict 2 months ago what we're up against today. So I would probably do a disservice if I were to guess what's going to happen in 2 months. But we do have the ability to continue it or to end it in 2 months. That's for sure. So I don't know.
Do you have criteria sort of laid out? Is it a certain reduction in the number of cases?
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't have criteria laid out. I keep saying this, and it's not happened yet, but I'm expecting the governor to weigh in pretty soon on the mask issue. I think as we continue city by city, county by county to start to adopt these, that he is going to, you know, weigh in and probably make it statewide. It's a guess. Again, it's a guess, but.
Thank you. Anyone else before we let the mayor go?
Can I say something?
Marilyn, yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, Gulfstream is residential from Mound Street practically to the bridge going over to Longboat. Why does the business community have so much control over it when we're all residential?
Are you referring to anything in particular, Marilyn? Can you narrow that down?
Oh yeah, Ron Soto was always trying to put up big signs, and you know, he thinks a sign will sell more than a product. Wrong, Ron. No, you need a product that will attract people. Nevertheless, we don't get much of a say-so. You know, they want to go right through Gulfstream and open it up into 41. That will be horrendous, absolutely horrendous. We will be the alternative road to 41. We cannot open up Gulfstream to ride into 41, either heading over the bridge or heading north on 41. Sorry about that. Some of you might still want it.
Well noted, Marilyn. Are you aware of anything about that yet, Mayor?
I'm not aware. I think that it was mentioned by Commissioner Brody at one point in time when we were talking about the roundabout and the statue and where it would be relocated. And I think he had mentioned opening it up there, but as far as I know, that's not part of the plans. I haven't heard anything about that. I could be wrong though. Maybe there are plans out there to open it up, but again, that's not anything I've heard.
Mayor, one quick thing. You missed the interview with Ron Turner, which was delightful, but a little disturbing. One disturbing element is that even the city's mask ordinance cannot be enforced at a polling place.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. That was news to me, but that's, a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that was one of the exceptions we wanted to include in there, other government buildings, because, that gets a little tricky if it's a federal building or a county building with a higher authority than we have. We just wanted to be respectful that, they are going to have to, sort of issue their own controls as they see fit. And so that's why we did that, along with schools, preschools, and yeah.
And I'm guessing that was the city attorney who recommended that.
Right.
Anything else for the mayor? Your last chance until next time. Thank you, Mayor. We really appreciate your coming in. I know it's been a long day, and please come again. So
absolutely,
we'll see you
absolutely.
next time.
Thank you for accommodating my schedule and me just jumping in the middle. I apologize for that.
No, we're just glad you could come. Thank you so much, and thanks for the mask ordinance. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank
Alex,
you.
did you